The Hicks are in it to win it, no doubt. The Eagles embarrass the Irish in a rout. Dary is getting some flack from wanting Anik back. Meanwhile, Mary Fred's the one stepping out.
That fresh produce stand there, that's a beauty.
What do you listen to?
My favorite murder podcast.
Taggart and Torrance podcast.
The produce stand.
Fucking sexy.
It's Thirsty Thursday. And that means we are once again hanging out at the Produce Stand, a podcast paying tribute to the great Canadian show, Letterkenny. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are many other podcasts about Letterkenny out there, but this one is obviously in it to win it. I'm Al, your host, and joining me in the room, as always, is the lovely Tanya. And online, we have Squirrely Matt and the vehement Victor. And joining us this week is a man with a velvety voice. You may have heard his work during our Twitter roll call whenever someone is from
Massachusetts.
He's a longtime listener and patron and a good guy. He's a really good guy. Please join me in making some noise for Jason C.
How are you now?
That's not it.
Wondrous.
There we go.
Wait. Oh my god.
I regret nothing.
Jason, welcome to the Produce Stand.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. And, Jason C's fine. You call me Jason or Cutler or.
I didn't know whether you wanted me to use your last name, but so I went with just the initial because it's in your Twitter handle. So I thought that was safe.
Nothing to hide here. It's okay. I'm not the Jay Cutler that paid for the Bears.
No.
And I imagine with a last name like Cutler, you get called Cutler a lot, don't you?
I do get called Cutler.
Yeah. That's a name people just get drawn to. They're like, hey, Cutler. Like
we said it on one show, I think a while back, and it really sounded like all of my friends in high school. It's exactly what they call me, just like you said.
Oh yeah, well, there you go. Well, Jason, like I said, welcome to the show, to the Pro Stand. It's great to finally have you on solo. You've been on at the Ag Hall Social at least once that I recall, and that's when we took note of that amazing radio voice of yours, and I'm very jealous of it. I say second to Dennis. Yours is amazing. Where are you? Remind us, where are you speaking to us from?
I'm speaking to you from North Berwick, Maine, which is about an hour from South Portland, which some of your other guest Adrian, I believe, is from. So I'm about an hour south of him.
There you go. So you can go check out his brewery when it finally opens. And
it was the non-alcoholic brewery.
It's not non-alcoholic, is it?
I thought he was making a bunch of non-alcoholic beer. Either way, I'd be happy to sample it.
Yeah, well, our patrons should jump at every opportunity to meet in person and get together for sure.
I think that would be really neat.
What do you do in Portland? So
I am about to start a new job Monday as an optician.
Oh,
something I've done for many years. So my last day at work was actually today.
Wow.
At my other job, where I was working at a hotel up in Cape Elizabeth, which is right next to South Portland, working in the housekeeping department as a housekeeping supervisor and room inspector. It was time for change. And
so how do you go from housekeeping to optician? Like that seems a bit of a career jump there.
So I've been an optician since I was about 20 years old. So I've done that on and off for the past 30 years or so.
Okay.
So I've had training in that. I'm also a licensed massage therapist. I've been that since 2012.
Careful there. You're going to rival Dennis with all the different careers.
There's layers here we're uncovering.
Well, there's a few jobs when you've gone a half a century, you experience a lot of different things and, find some different ways. And they say that about Generation Xers, which I am, so we get bored with jobs and move on to the next thing after a while and look for different things. So, and then the other thing I really did as a career is I lived in Los Angeles for many years, and I worked in the film industry out there and also as an optician out there. So,
optician to the stars.
I met quite a lot of celebrities, actually.
Oh yeah, which celebrity might we be surprised that wear glasses? Maybe that aren't.
It's a weird ass question.
So I worked in a lot of like upscale boutiques in Beverly Hills and Studio City in those areas. And I don't know, I sold glasses to all the kids on that 70s show once. They all came into
I love that show.
They all
including the rapey one?
Well,
he was the only one that wasn't there. Actually, him and Ashton Kutcher were there. Ashton
right.
But Ashton used to get coffee and meet with his agent at the coffee shop that was next to the store, and they would talk.
That's awesome.
So they'd all go shopping for eyeglasses together?
Well, I think they must have been just on break or something because the studio was basically right across the street.
Oh, cool.
And so they came in and they just all made a purchase, and Wilma Valderrama actually paid for them all. So
Really?
awesome. But,
Wow.
Yeah, but it would always be stuff like that in Los Angeles. You'd be out eating a burger someplace, and Tim Robbins is sitting across from you eating a burger.
That's cool.
It happens a lot when you live out there. And then working in the film business, you meet a lot of celebrities too.
Did Mitch Hedberg ever come in? I know he was only on the 70s show for like a couple of episodes, but
No, I never met Mitch.
one of my favorites.
What a legend.
Yes, R.I.P. I got to see him in Toronto once, which was a
Did
thrill.
you really?
At Yuck Yucks, and it was like just out of the blue. It was one of those things where we were going to the comedy club, and I saw on the marquee Mitch Hedberg, and I lost my shit, and nobody who I was with knew who he was, and I was just I was giddy. Yeah, it was great.
Those who know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has amazing jokes. Mitch is great.
All right. Well, so you're here because you're a Letterkenny fan, obviously. So how did you discover the show?
So I think, like a lot of people, I think I must have saw some clips on Facebook, and I've got to think the Grill Marks was the first one.
Yeah,
that I saw.
It seems to be a lot of people's gateway.
That's just sort of what they were sharing at the time, and then I had Hulu, so I looked it up and I started to watch the first episode, and I was like, what is this? There's a lot of cussing and there's a lot of fighting, but the music is great, and it seemed to speak to me because growing up in all the different places that I did, I felt like I could identify with sort of all the different factions that were going on in the town there, and I felt like I knew somebody in each of those when I was growing up, or was part of most of them or some of them.
Right.
So I got into that and just started watching it and loved that. And I think a big part for me is the music in Letterkenny, which also drew me in because you just don't hear cool music like that, like on the radio, and it's hard to find stuff like that. And I really love that part about it.
I can tell you're a music fan. You're wearing a Silver Sun Pickups T-shirt, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yep.
You were telling me in the pre-show that you got to see them somewhere recently.
Oh, we just saw them up here in Portland, pre-pandemic, and it was an amazing show at a venue that had no air conditioning.
Oh dear.
So we had to find our way up to the balcony because it was the only way we could possibly survive in that theater with that heat. But tremendous band, they're from LA. But I like them a lot.
Very nice. And how did you discover our podcast?
So
it was a while ago.
It was a while ago. I'm trying to think back. As I recall, I must have just searched Letterkenny podcasts, and I came across two at the time. And the first one was an interesting man talking about the show. And it wasn't really my scene at all. And then I started listening to you guys, and I think the show was pretty fairly new when I found you. So I feel like I've been listening to you from
yeah, you've been an early listener for sure. I remember seeing your name very early on and on the Twiffers.
Yeah, I remember listening to the first one that you did, and sort of trying to remind everybody that it is a comedy. It's coming across very heavy.
I had to remind Victor a couple of times it was a comedy, but
I have a lazy eye.
Yeah. Nice.
Hey,
Well, and this is from a guy who doesn't like grunge. Anyway,
How are you now?
Tonight's lineup's going to be Victor, Matt, Tanya, Alan. We'll let our guest have the last word. Victor, how's your week?
Been a pretty ridiculous week.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, I started my day at 6 a.m. On a call with Australia. And then I proceeded to have meetings without nonstop until 5 p.m. And at which time I had a chance to catch up on some work to get me in time for a 7 p.m. call with Australia again.
Jeez.
And so those buggers, after I got off the phone with them in the morning, had their dinner, watched some TV, went to bed, had a good sleep, woke up, and
you're still working on your work.
And
day.
I'm still and they met with me again. And I'm thinking, this is not right. There's got to be a better way. so anyway, so that was that. But some good news that brighten up the week a little bit that you'll appreciate. There's a new route that's going to be dropping next Thursday on my train sim game, and it will be going from Boston to Providence.
Nice.
And it's going to have two train companies, if you will. One is Amtrak, and the other one, Al, it's not going to be MBTI, but it's MBTA. So, which is the Massachusetts Bay Transport Authority. So there you go.
I'm still waiting for the part where you think I'm going to find this interesting. Okay.
The Massachusetts part.
You mean the
Massachusetts
part? Okay.
There
Gotcha.
you go.
Massachusetts.
It's like he's in the room or
Massachusetts.
on the Zoom. All right. Cool. Who's next? Oh, Matt. How was your week?
It's been a doozy. I took a couple days off last week, which was nice. Did a couple beach days up in Wasaga. That was great with all the kids. It's funny now we travel because I got 3 kids plus a 90-pound dog.
Oh my!
Wow.
We have a utility trailer. Remember the whole trailer thing you've seen? Yeah. So we now use that when we go anywhere.
Not
but
for
everyone's
the
like,
kids.
"Oh, are you?" No, yeah, we should. But it's funny. We get up to Collingwood there, and people are like, "Are you guys moving in?" I'm like, "No, we're just here for like a day." And we've got all the bikes, we've got our suitcase, we got literally so much shit for this 2-day trip. But anyways, it was fun to get away and shut down for a couple days. I tweeted about this one this morning because I just had to, and I know you liked it, Al. So the continuation of my tile saga, which I know I mentioned last week. So there was more. The plot actually thickened. So I mentioned, I think last week, that I bashed out a couple tiles, went to replace them, didn't have any. So now we've been searching for new tiles. So we found new tiles, but turns out we actually had enough tiles here. But here's what happened. Seriously, here's what happened. So we had the one full tile, and I needed one other one, which I need to cut down to make it fit this spot. So
measure 10 times, cut once.
Oh no, the measuring wasn't the issue. I didn't have the proper tools to cut a porcelain tile. I YouTubed how I thought I could do it because I didn't want to go and spend all this money on a cutter, which I should have just fucking spent the money on the cutter. Anyways, long story short, I fucked up the cut. I snapped the tile in 2. So next thing you know, wifey's on Messenger on Marketplace saying, "Hey, hubby's coming to get the tiles." So these are tiles that were made 10 years ago at Costco. They're discontinued everywhere. We found one person 150 clicks from here almost.
Jesus.
So I got up this morning and made the drive.
For one tile.
Well, the best part was
you should have just called up Cutter and say, "Hey, get over here."
So I had to go, and I drove. And actually, where I drove was about 20 minutes from Listowel, and I should have had I had more time. I would have swung in and take some photos and had some fun.
Dude.
But I was there and back, but I had to buy 5 cases of tiles. So now I've got I don't know what is. I can do a small room now, and I only need one. So we've decided to do our bathroom. So now we get to do it all again.
Oh, well, there
You had to go. Wow.
Yeah.
You had to go all the way to Listowel?
Just outside of Listowel. Yeah.
Jeez.
Just outside. Well, your priorities are out of sorts. My
Well,
friend.
I mean, we did the math. It's either bash out all the floor on the main floor and redo it, or
Thing is,
drive here.
All
and
of the
do this
locations that you might have any interest in are in Sudbury anyway. They're not in Listowel.
I know, but it's all it's the origin story, man. Everyone wants the origin story.
That's right.
How many clicks was it?
Actually, I think it was door to door. It was 125 kilometers.
Oh,
so 250 round trips. It was a 3-hour drive for me this morning. Yeah, but it was great. I mean, I had another laugh when I got there because the lady who we bought the towels from, my wife set all this up. When I got there, I guess when I left, about 30 seconds after I left, Jen calls me and she goes, "What the hell did you do to this woman?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, she's messaging me going, he's a keeper. What a great guy. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, come on.
Wow,
Like, you know that.
you laid the squirrely Matt charm on her, did you?
Oh, I'm a charming guy. What can I say? And if someone wants to talk to me, you give me an inch, I'm going to take a mile of your time. So
do we have a new podcast listener? You know.
Oh man, I didn't tell them. I didn't get that far.
What? Come on.
It was
You're fired.
The stories they went down some dark paths, but
you guys
it was
have
fun.
Maybe you have some cards or something.
Oh, she's on your
Protestant cards.
She's on your Christmas list now. All right, Tanya, how's your week?
Not as exciting as a 3-hour drive. I don't even remember.
We had vacation. It was like the most packed week we've had in like 2 years.
So tired. I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Were you even there?
I know. Oh my God. I think I blacked out and then came to again. And yeah, it was a busy. Was that this week?
Well, last week. It was,
Last week. I can't remember the last time we were here. Anyways, yeah. So we were on vacation and it was busy and we just did absolutely everything in a matter of a week.
Can you name one thing?
So the weekend.
No, not you, Al. Can she name one thing?
I'm the sleep deprived one.
Okay, one thing. Several things. We got. So our son got his second vaccine. He got his uniform for school because he's
right.
headed
So you
into
were
high
there.
school.
Yeah.
I was there. Went up to my
In body, if not in
sister
mind.
and brother-in-law's and stayed there for a few days. And I don't even know what the hell we did. Oh, it was a really cool restaurant actually. So we go out like once a year. We went out last year to Casa Loma, remember? And so this year we went to Aurelia. And there's this really cool restaurant called Tailwind.
Yeah, Tailwinds.
And so in this, we're on the patio and the airplanes come in and the pontoon planes and they land on the water right outside of like right there on the restaurant. And the airport's right there. So it's really cool if you're an air buff or whatever to watch the airplanes leaving.
They're all Cessnas. It's not a major airport. It's just like a bunch of Cessnas, a bunch of pontoon planes. It was pretty cool. Nice. Yeah, nice setting.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was nice to get out and
a little noisy, but
almost feels normal.
Mm-hmm.
Better to get tailwind from a plane than your waiter. So
yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, and then I'll just add. So last week we did all of that, and then we came back, and on Saturday we had a neighbor threw a little bit of a jam. So a bunch of musicians got together. Everybody was double vaxxed in the backyard. Everyone brought a guitar. Everyone.
And it looks like you had an 8-beer night, my friend.
Oh, I had more than 8 beer. I was a wreck the next day.
Oh, he was.
But that's the most fun and the hardest I've gone in a while, in at least 18 months. So it was just nice to unwind and not worry about anything. It was just a regular night because everyone there was of the same mind. Everyone was double vaxxed. Everyone, was careful, and so it was awesome. It was a good night of music, of friends, of drinks, of food, some great food too. It was just such a packed week. And now this week, I'm a broken man.
And we adopted a child this week too.
Oh yeah, we adopted a child.
We took a child on.
That's news.
Yeah, no,
not like that.
Not
permanently, just for the week.
So because our son did summer school last month, we told him this month he gets to unwind and kick back and relax. And so he asked if a buddy could stay here for the week. So we've taken on an extra child, and it's been busy.
Yeah, and I'm a broken man because not only am I working a full day shift, I'm also putting in 2 to 3 hours outside carrying fucking stone and putting down a patio with my dad, which is, let me tell you, I wasn't built for manual labor. And there isn't labor more manual or more laborious than stonework. Holy crap! My back.
When a friend asks for help, it's all you had to do, buddy.
No, it's okay. I'm helping. My dad's doing most of the work because I'm
such a nice guy.
Well, he's the guy who's. I mean, look, he's 70 years old and he's out there shirtless, looking way better than I've ever looked my entire life and will ever look. And my neighbors are like, "That's your dad?" I'm like, "Yes, shut up." All right.
The man looks like he's 50.
Yeah, but
maybe
he's
55.
But he's got the big hands because of all the brickwork he's done in his life, and and just he's
He's tanned,
machine.
he's muscle,
Yeah.
it's
crazy. Shut up.
Yeah, I know what that. Yeah. It's hard being like that. Yeah.
Okay, Jason, why don't you tell us about your week?
Well, this was a good week for me, as I think I mentioned earlier that I did change jobs, and anyone knows who gives notice. The last 2 weeks of giving notice, you definitely have to give your extra to focus at work. And speaking of manual labor, the job I was doing was very intensive in manual labor. I would walk up to 22,000 steps a day, going back and forth, making sure our rooms were ready for our guests at this high-end luxury hotel. So there was a lot of expectation to make sure that was going to be done. And then some of our staff went on vacation. And of course, as a supervisor, you get to inherit their jobs and do that.
Oh, Tanya knows that all too well.
Yep. So I was sort of pushing laundry around the property and doing all that sort of stuff. And that wasn't a whole lot of fun. So it was time for a change for me. And that's good. So this was my last week at that work. But besides that, my son started football. My 13-year-old son started football. And they're doing 3 or 4 hour practices, per day, every day, running around out there in the hot sun.
Oh man.
Wow.
And the crazy humidity out there, but he is doing great. We've had several people come up to us and say there's no quitting that kid. And
so wait, he's out on a field with the name Cutler on his back. What position is he playing?
Well, he's in 8th grade, so they don't have positions yet. This is his first year playing.
All right.
And in fact, I was trying to explain the positions to him last night when we were driving home, because I'm like, do you know what they mean when they say like huddle up and what's a 3-point stance and what's offense and what's defense? He's like, kinda. But he's really into it, but he's never actually sat down and watched a football game with him.
Oh, okay.
Hilarious.
So
that's fun though. That's fun.
So what are the 3 hour practices? They're just making them run?
They're doing a lot of calisthenics, and it's a lot of drills to sort of separate, I think, what the different positions are going to be.
Yeah,
right.
As they get them running around the field, they see who's fast and they see who's got the arms to catch the ball. And they do all the different drills. So it's been really neat to see him do that. And he's dedicated out there.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Every weekend to the middle of November is taken up with football now. So we got to volunteer with the concession stand or doing the chain gang, and it's going to be busy. I'm glad there's Wi-Fi at the stadium so I can watch my football games while he's doing stuff.
Have you guys been having the heat wave like we are here?
Oh, it's brutal here. It's brutal. I got out of the car the other day after being in it for about an hour, and it just rained. And my glass is completely fogged up just when I walked outside.
Oh,
crazy.
I haven't ever experienced anything like that yet. So it's incredibly hot here in Maine.
Yeah.
And we'll be wishing we had it in about 3 months here.
True.
The snow.
Yeah.
So it's been a good week, and happy to be here and looking forward to getting to this awesome episode.
Yeah, well, let's get to this episode. But first, I told you I'm tired. I need a coffee. Who wants a coffee? Tanya, you want a coffee?
Yes.
Victor, would you like a coffee?
I'd have a coffee.
Matt, how about you?
I'm surprised we're not having coffee right now.
You took it to heart last week, didn't you? That's all right, because we're serving devilishly good coffee and diabolically awesome swag at the produce stand with Diabolical Coffee. If you're a coffee lover, regardless of your taste or preference, they have an option for you. Whole bean, coarse, and standard grind espresso. They even have a K-cup option. And now for the entirety of season 7, which actually ends in a couple of weeks with our recap and then the Ag Hall Social, you can use a promo code Produce Stand for 10% off any coffee or merchandise purchased at diabolicalcoffee.com. So please support us by supporting them. Thank you to Diabolical Coffee and Eric for your support this season, and Matt showing off his Diabolical Coffee shirt with the devil's breath on the back. That's such a great
that's
logo.
a big one.
Yeah.
I actually wear this shirt probably more than any other shirt right now. I love it.
Nice.
Wow, that is really a great t-shirt. It's got an awesome logo, and then when you turn around, it's got this awesome devil on it. I appreciate it because we're on an audio podcast, so I was happy to see it. So I explained it to the listener.
I'll give you the full.
As a listener, we want to know what we're looking at here. So it's got so thank you.
Very cool. And speaking of support, we have 11 new Twitter followers this week. So welcome to Podscure Podcast Network. That might sound familiar. That's Dean's new podcast network. We'll talk to him about that next week. Welcome to Eric, to Leslie Torres, to Shims Jam 345 from Dayton, Ohio. Brandon from Seagrave, not from Seagrave, but Brandon Seagrave. Bad Dog from Indianapolis. Low Speed High Drag. Material Handler Mike from Prince George, BC. Heather Gurney Gettings from South Carolina. Microphones and Monsters. And Greg Kristen from Toledo. Thank you all for following and hopefully for listening.
Previously on Letterkenny.
Last week, we recapped and reviewed episode 5 of season 7, W's Talk Baby. That episode got a clearance from all of us, but Victor, who gave it a very, very resounding compost. According to our scientific Twitter poll, 56.3% of you gave it a fresh, 37.5% gave it a clearance, and 6.3% agreed with Victor. This week, we recap and review episode 6 of season 7, In It to Win It. Have you done your homework, Victor?
I have.
Matt, have you done your homework?
Most certainly.
Tanya, have you done your homework?
Absolutely.
I've done my homework. Jason, have you done your homework?
I definitely did my homework.
All right. And Victor, I noticed you haven't changed your background yet, so that's worrying me.
Well, don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
All right. We start with our cold open. The Hicks are getting ready for another episode of Crack and Egg. Wayne's very drunk. Squirrely Dan says he's in it to win it. Bonnie McMurray shows up to deliver a case of puppers. She's paying up on a bet she made regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs, John Tavares. She bet that he'd have a slow start with the Leafs, and he didn't. So Wayne compliments Bonnie on her jacket, and Bonnie comments on Wayne's turtleneck. Bonnie excuses herself to go to work, but not before specifically and somewhat affectionately saying bye to Dary. Dary pays her no mind. He seems preoccupied with something else. Katie asks Wayne why he isn't going to Quebec to visit Marie Fred. He tells her that Marie Fred picked up an extra shift at work, so he's not going. Instead, he's drinking 8 beers and cracking an egg. Dary wants to talk about driving to Quebec, but he's interrupted by Glenn, who walks in and comments on the smell of beer on Wayne's breath. Katie asks Squirrely Dan why he isn't courting Lavina Dick tonight. Squirrely Dan says her parents are out of towns and you need parental supervision to court a Mennonite gal. So Squirrely Dan is in it to win it as well with 8 beers. And Glenn wonders why anyone would want to drink 8 beers.
He's in it to win it.
Hey, don't get the rig rolling.
Fucking A.
Je ne comprends pas, Danielle.
Let's say everybody comes over to have a beer. So you have a beer. Maybe you have a couple beers, but you're going to stop at a couple beers because if you have 6 beers, well, then you might as well just be honest and admit you're going to get fucking hammered.
Je ne comprends toujours pas.
If you say you're going to have a couple beers, you stop at a couple beers. But if you're more likely to lean into it like we are today, well, then you get real.
You get real.
You get real and you say, I'm going to have 8 beer.
Fuck McMurray was talking about having 8 beers.
McMurray's a piece of shit.
Why would anybody want to sit and just drink 8 beers? The bloat of it.
He's in it to win it. Oh, Dary, have a beer.
Dary's still preoccupied, and he's got some news for them.
I'm driving to Quebec.
Good fishing in Quebec.
Great fishing in Quebec. To get Anik back.
Fuck off, Dary.
And we cue the theme. All right. That was a succinct cold open. Victor, what do you think?
Well, again, obviously that's a questionable cold open based on what came next.
Oh, come off it. Really? Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So the other thing I didn't get is
Matt's face.
so
I'm
they
sorry.
were sitting there drinking.
Mhm.
Why was Glenn? Where was he drinking?
What do you mean, where?
Well, he came in, or was he there the whole time? Because he came in, but he was clearly drunk, right?
No,
I don't know. No, I didn't think Glenn was
No,
drunk
Glenn
at all.
wasn't
No.
drunk.
He was talking with a slur.
I think that was
I
just
think
Glenn.
it's just I think it's just Glenn.
Yeah, I think
No,
that's
no,
just Glenn.
I don't think so. I think he was talking he was talking drunk like.
he was hitting the hymnal wine.
I don't know. That caught me off guard. I would say do a rewatch because I think he's supposed to be drunk as well,
Really?
and it
Because
just
he's
didn't
commenting
make sense.
on the smell of beer.
I know. Well, that's the irony, right? That's the irony that a drunk calling another drunk.
Okay.
But then I was just thinking, was he drinking on his own, or was it with his Christian buddy? So that's what I was thinking.
Well, he's tempted to convert to Catholicism. Anyway,
That's right. That was another funny. That was great. Yeah.
what did you think of the open overall? Wow.
I thought it was. No, it was okay. It was okay.
All right.
It was okay. I thought the funniest bit was Glenn was Wayne's comment about Glenn.
Wayne's comment about Glenn. Refresh my memory.
Yeah. What were you switching to which side or
Oh,
something.
right,
like
right,
that.
right. Yeah. No, I think it was Katie who asked him. She stopped the conversation going, wait a minute. Switching to which side? And he said Catholicism, and everyone's that was pretty funny. I liked Wayne's little Mennonite joke. What's a Mennonite's favorite kind of raisin?
Barn raisin.
Matt, it was so stupid, but it's like Victor's Mennonite mechanic joke. Anyway, Matt, what do you think of that?
Oh, this is going to be a long show. And just we are open casting for season 8, by the way.
Yeah.
Fuck. I thought it was great, man. Drunk Wayne is hilarious.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Him sitting there, I wanted to be in that room so bad, sitting next to him, having 8 beers. Like, that's all I want. And he's a good boy. He's a good puppers. That's okay. This is a puppers friendly show.
It is, yes.
But no, I mean, it was fun. I mean, it definitely, as we know right away, it lead right into the show, which often cold opens set themselves apart. This one didn't. It set the stage for the episode, which I'm glad they did, because, with so many things that happened last episode, this being the season finale, I'm glad they didn't waste any. Now, I don't want to say waste. It's not the word I mean, but I'm glad that they used all the time to tell the whole story and not spend it away. So no, I thought it was a great way to wrap up the egg haul, in it to win it, let them get drunk and just talk to people. I would have actually liked to have heard more of the conversation throughout the episode. But either way, I thought it was a lot of fun. I laughed pretty hard.
10.
I think I appreciate it so much more knowing and realizing that it was through the winter. It was the egg haul, just for shooting purposes and for the season. So I appreciated it a little bit better that that they were finishing up. This was the last one, and they're moving on to the next season, and we'll probably be outside by then.
Yeah.
I thought, Glenn was funny. I didn't pick up on the whole drunk Glenn.
I didn't
Victor had commented. I just saw him coming in and commenting on Wayne, and Wayne's eyes like nearly closed completely. Like it was beyond a squint. It was just like full out. He was gonna fall off his chair next. So yeah, pretty comical. Good.
Yeah, it was okay. Wayne is a fun drunk, and Squirrely Dan's a hilarious drunk. Like, he's just so funny when he's drunk. So it was a fun cold open, and yes, Victor, it was a cold open because it took part before the Matt's already calling Victor's MVP is going to be drunk Glenn at the end of this, so we'll see.
So we're all scratching our head going, what?
Are we still doing that?
No, we're not.
No.
Anyway, it was just okay. There was nothing, spectacular about it. It suited its purpose, and yes, they had to end the Kraken Egg because next season they'll be back outdoors again. Winter will be over. So it was a good vehicle for this season to have that as opposed to doing the produce stand. It was fun. Jason, what do you think?
Well, I think I enjoyed it more than Victor.
It's a low bar. It's a low bar.
Right. Bonnie does slap his ass as he's walking in, so maybe that stumbling perhaps convinced you that maybe he was drinking. But no, I thought this cold open had a lot of great stuff in it, from all the different cat calls when you go the Wildcats and the talk about the Babcock and how much they're going to pay for the seats and
Did you get any of that though? Because that's very Toronto centric dialogue.
So I looked up some of it. I don't know who the Tavares guys is. I do get that he paid for the Maple Leafs, but I have no idea what his position would have been.
So John Tavares is a former New York Islander who became a Leaf a few years ago. He's a fairly big deal in hockey. So it was a fairly big news when he came to Toronto. Basically, he made all of New York hate him because he was like the star of New York. Well, the star of the Islanders. Who opted in his free agency to go home to Toronto. So that was a big deal in Toronto because, yeah, we had a Toronto boy coming home, and there's a lot of hilarious, like there were pictures of him as a child wearing Toronto Maple Leaf pajamas and all that stuff. It's all very funny. But anyway, so John Tavares coming home was a big deal. And he had a pretty good start with the Leafs. Mike Babcock was the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, so that's why he was brought up. And and just in general, it's not the cheapest ticket to go see a Leaf game. In fact,
God, no.
Tanya and I have driven down to Buffalo or Pittsburgh, stayed in a hotel. Well, we did Pittsburgh, but I also did Buffalo. Stayed in a hotel for a weekend, watched the game, and came back and paid less than I would have to go to see the Leafs in Toronto.
That's common practice.
That's crazy. Well, I looked up what the price of the seats were for Dan will not have his Babcock worked on, and it was $120. What do you guys call them, loonies?
Yeah, loonies. Yeah.
120 loonies, sure.
Loonies?
That'd be a heavy wallet, but dollars is fine.
Okay, that's $96 in American money. I have no idea.
Well,
I asked that because the episode where Coach is talking about
that's my favorite Canadian thing I've heard in a while.
Where Coach is talking, remember Coach is talking about the loonies and toonies in the girls' pocket swing. I had no idea what he was talking about, and I'm like, why wouldn't they have cartoons in their pocket? And how would that make? I didn't know. I mean, I think most Americans are fairly ignorant about what's going on.
So look up a toonie. It's basically like a donut coin.
Yeah. So the loonie is $1 coin, and the toonie is the $2 coin. $2. We don't have paper money for $1 or $2.
Oh, so okay. So that's why it would weigh them down.
Yeah, it would weigh them down. So imagine having 120 toonie or loonies, which are large coins too. They're larger than quarters. They'd be heavy. It would be heavy.
Well, that sounds ridiculous. Okay.
We used to have paper money.
Yeah.
Alan and I remember paper money.
Right.
Yeah. That's how old we are.
And then I don't have it. No. And then, so Bonnie lost the bet about whatever she was betting that, and they had to make her go beer, and she was really against being a beer runner, which I get. No one wants to be the beer runner. That's the suckiest job. All right. And then is Babcock a common Canadian slang word?
No, Babcock's just
now it is.
Well, it is actually. Yeah, when he left, if you couldn't utter his name, but he was the former coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
All right. Wow. All right. And then Wayne wants people to try his clothes on. And then
I know, right?
That was the best line. You want to try it on?
You want to try it on?
Try it on? That's the greatest, right?
Well, you know what? Drunk Wayne likes to share clothing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because at first I thought he was flirting with Bonnie and she just didn't bite, which was weird to me because normally she's kind of coming at him. And then he said it again later. I'm like, oh, this is Drunk Wayne.
Yes.
Well, was Bonnie asking Wayne to try on her jacket?
Well, he asked her to try on the jacket, and
he commented on her jacket. He said, "Nice jacket."
And obviously, he's hammered, and Bonnie is probably familiar with drunk guys who will say just ridiculous stuff. So I like that. But I think the most important thing was the look that Bonnie gives Daryl.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That is serious right there.
Mm-hmm.
So we like that, and we covered the ass slapping with Glenn. But then all the big cat references and all that, and the ultimate cat being the bear cat.
Do the bear cat.
Right. So a bear cat is a shy mammal that smells like popcorn is what I
What?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know this. I just thought it was a reference to the bear cat, the song by what's his name? What's the guy's name?
Do the bear cat.
Yeah, do the bear cat.
Is that the David
Wilcox?
Wilcox.
Yeah.
David Wilcox.
Bear cat. Yeah, I haven't heard the song, but evidently he's a famous Canadian blues singer.
Yes.
I love all the research you've done here.
I know. This is great.
I'm learning as we go as well.
Now you have to go and listen to the bear cat.
Well, I will have to listen to that.
do.
No, Jason, you really don't.
Come on. Good song.
It's not a good song.
It is a good song.
It's all that with Riverboat Fantasy. That's your day.
Life for me is a
a riverboat fantasy.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is not.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that great.
Okay, we have to close with that now.
Oh well, yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's move on because this is going to be a really long episode. We go back after the theme to scene 1, still at the TV studio, and Katie confronts Dary.
I believe the expression is give your balls a tug.
She's angry.
She's in it to win it.
Dary, if you drive to Quebec to beg a woman who cheated on you to come back, I will punch you in the stomach.
Yeah, get him right in the processor, Katie. Well, there's no evidence that she cheated on me that I know of. She was just going back to Jean-Claude.
Fuck Katie.
So, Dary, you think that she made that
She got him in the
decision,
processor.
came to tell you, and then went back to him?
That's what I was hoping for.
Dary, where do you think she was for those 2 weeks that you couldn't reach her?
Taking racy Instagram photos.
Yeah, there's proof of that.
She was fucking him.
That's a bad word.
Yeah. I love that.
That's a bad word.
That's a bad word. Glenn adds that to be fair, if there was one woman that could make him switch teams, she would be the woman. And Katie asks him to clarify which team would he be switching to. Glenn responds with Catholicism.
But paused.
Yes,
and said
of course he did.
Catholicism.
Yeah. Dary turns to his good buddies for their take.
Good buddies?
She's right.
She's in it to win it.
Goddamn right, I'm right.
Can't go back to someone who steps out on you and gets any respects.
No?
No, that's in a small town.
Wayne?
Look, if you're 9 out of 10 in it to win it, well, that ain't good enough. You gotta be 10 out of 10. You're not in it to win it. Good buddy?
If she cheats, it's over. What? No exceptions.
All right. No exceptions. Dary asks if they'll come with him. Wayne says he'll go, but he doesn't back this. Dary tells Wayne that he isn't a good enough buddy and storms out just as the show is about to start.
Ah, fuck the show.
Wonder what? Fuck this show is right.
Yeah, I'm getting a wee bit tired of this fucking show myself.
So this is not a good time to tell you that I'm going to need to start charging you rent on the studio space?
Look, spent all winter helping people with their problems. Look, if we haven't helped you, you're fucking helpless.
Yeah, we puts in our time. It's all right if we looks out for number ones for a wee bit.
Put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others.
But I'm assuming there's already about 3 dozen people in the queue.
Well, you want to know what? We're going to sit here, drink 8 beers, and help them all till it's all fucking over with.
And then what?
Get that fucking red light going.
Okay, come on, little guy. We're going to do this.
Get that red light going.
We're on.
Welcome to the last ever crack and egg. Bet you can.
Bet you can't.
All right. Scene 2 at the hockey rink. The Irish prepare for their game against the Eagles. Tanis gives them a pep talk. She thanks them all for their hard work. 4 practices in 6 days. They all think they're ready, except for Coach, who thinks the Eagles are going to be too fucking good. Tyson and Joint Boy agree. This doesn't seem to deter Tanis. Riley and Jonesy admit that they'd be better with Bartz, Yorkie, Schultze, Fiske, and Boomtown. This annoys Tanis. She doesn't want to talk about those guys. Riley and Jonesy wonder why, and then in walk the Eagles, led by Bartz, Yorkie, Schultze, Fiske, and Boomtown. The Irish are confused. They thought that you had to be native to play for the native team. The Eagles coach says they should read the Indian Act, which gets Riley and Jonesy talking about whether that's a PC term. Each of their senior players rhyme off why they're eligible for Indian rights status, citing some very well-rehearsed excerpts from the Canadian Indian Act, starting with Bartz, you little bitch, Yorkie, Schultze, you pussy, Fiske, and then there's good old Boomtown.
I'm the grandchild of an Indian woman who lost her status through marriage, which makes me a Bill C3 applicant of the Gender Equity and the Indian Registration Act. My grandmother was a good woman. My grandfather, a violent, unfaithful drunk. I worked through my anger towards him in therapy with a registered psychotherapist, which conveniently was a 75% tax write-off under my social benefits program. Big takeaway? Be kind. 'Cause everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about.
Oh, from off in the distance, you can hear Shorzy telling the Eagles to give their fucking balls a tug. Tanis says Shorzy is their secret weapon. The Eagles coach reminds Tanis of their wager.
You remember our little wager, Tanis?
I think so.
Be like my favorite hockey player, BJ Crombie.
Oh.
Be like my favorite mixed martial artist, BJ Penn.
Right.
Be like my favorite cast member from hit NBC sitcom The Office, BJ Novak.
BJ Novak.
I think you're cute. I would have done it anyways.
Really?
But a bet's a bet. Let's go then.
The Eagles leave and Tanis turns to her team.
Right. Grab a knee. Now, I know we can't win this game, but I need to make it entertaining. Show these guys what I can bring. Little help?
Oh, so you want us to donk, boys?
Yeah. I need a couple donkeys.
I could donk all day, boys.
Call me Rob Donkowski.
I'm the donkey tonk man.
I'm a donkey tonk woman.
Donkeys and conkeys for the...
All right. Let's do this.
Next scene, Dary walks into Modine's 3. The bar is empty. He asks Gail where everyone is. She doesn't know. Dary tells Gail about his plan to get Anik back. Gail lets out a "you," which brings Bonnie out from the kitchen.
Scotty Wallace here?
Nah, just talking about Daryl's ex-sweetie.
Skank Azaria?
Sounds like he's after a little Shaw skank redemption.
She stepped out on you, Daryl.
That's not certain.
Fucking likely. If she cheats.
Or he.
Or they. It's over.
They.
No exceptions.
A lot of good girls out there who would never do that to you. You need to open your eyes.
I just need to find some backup. Gonna get my ass kicked, likely.
Bad timing, cowboy. Everyone's out and about.
Bother.
And just then, in walks Ginger, Boots, and Scotty Wallace. Scene 4. At the Skid's lair, Stewart asks Rold about his jerk board. They're interrupted by a couple of big city slams. They're in trouble and they need help. After the Skids left the city, they kept the Green G going for a bit, but the other dealers got wise, and now they're threatening their lives. Stewart wonders why they think he could help them.
Because you're a vigilante. And we heard you and your girl when we came to your door that day. Sounded like some of that good fucking. Type of dudes who can pull that off are capable, competent men.
Roll. Stewart. How does our schedule look? Jammed.
What can we do to convince you to
Move some things around.
Things are moving.
His voice. Oh my God.
Scene 5. At the game, OCM is playing and the players are warming up. Shorzy is already chirping the other team. The Eagles coach asks Tanis about her in-game entertainment setup. Tanis shares it with him. He puts on the headset to hear what Tanis is recording. He hears Shorzy, Riley, and Jonesy mercilessly chirping the Eagles team. Both Tanis and the Eagles coach find it amusing. Next scene. Back at the TV studio, Wayne and Squirrely Dan take a call from Corley, who's running for Miss 4-H Club. Just a production note there. I had to look this up. 4-H Club is a 100-year-old organization of 23,000 youth members aged 6 to 25. 4-H programs kids and teens complete hands-on projects in areas like health, science, agriculture, and civic engagement in a positive environment where they receive guidance from adult mentors and are encouraged to take proactive leadership roles. So the 4-H's stand for head, heart, hands, and health. So I didn't know this. Did you?
Very common in small towns.
Yeah, I've never heard of it actually. Or well, I've heard of it, but I've never seen one.
Yeah.
During the call, what's that?
Have you ever been to a fair? The county fairs?
Oh yeah,
always.
Been to those. Yeah,
lots of 4-H going on there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's a thing in the U.S. as well.
Oh yeah, they have 4-H club down here for sure.
Oh,
I've
cool.
never been a part of it, but I've been to fairs where I've seen the signs.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's always been a fair where I've seen it.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I could make a giant pig or a nice looking horse or something like that.
Nice. During the
Captured
call,
it.
During the call, Rosie walks into the studio to pick up Zeke, the dog Wayne was taking care for her. Scene 7. In Quebec, Dary, the Ginger, Boots, and Scotty Wallace wait outside the Fricks bar. They see the Fricks enter the bar, and upon seeing Anik, Scotty Wallace lets out a "you." And Anik hears it and looks over at the truck, but Dary and Scotty bury their heads in the laps of the Ginger and Boots. Anik probably notices the Ontario plates on the truck, but she goes inside anyway. Scene 8. Back at the hockey rink. Then the game begins with Dickens doing play-by-play. Shorzy begins the hijinks by knocking sticks out of players' hands and trying to pick fights with the other players. The Eagles coach orders his team to not fight. The Eagles score first, but then the Irish respond. The game's pretty close in the beginning, but as it goes on, the Irish continuously chirp at the Eagles, calling their Indian status into question every chance they get, trying to pick up fights with and just generally bullying the Eagles. All this makes Tanis very happy. Eventually, the Eagles pull away and win the game handily. The final score is 11-5. Next scene, back at the TV studio, both Wayne and Squirrely Dan are completely wasted, and the callers are just laughing at how hammered they are.
Thanks, good buddy. Fuck, are you boys hammered, eh?
Oh, we're in one.
We're in it, win it.
All right, we'll talk to you.
Yeah, talk to you.
All right, Katie, who's next?
That's it.
What's it?
That's the end of the queue. Forever.
Oh, well, that was a final crack and egg. None of these couldn't, so none of these can.
You're hammered, bud.
Oh, that's size 10-4.
No, he's kidding.
Over.
They end the show with a round of applause, and then Rosie leaves with Zeke. But in walks McMurray with a 2-4 of his own. He becomes upset though when he finds out he's missed all the drinking. He asks where Dary is. They tell him Dary's in Quebec to get Anik back. McMurray's indignant that Dary went by himself without backup to a room full of smoked meat eating bagel munching sons of bitches. The Hicks try to defend their position of once a cheater, always a cheater, but McMurray reminds them of their number one rule.
Well, he should know better.
Yeah, but when a friend asks for help, use help 'em. Oh. I said, when a friend asks for help,
we're going to Quebec.
Next scene, cut to the Skids' lair where a couple of very satisfied big city slams lay with Stuart, raving about some that good fucking. Stuart admits that he can't help them with their dealer currently. He would need help, and he's lived a lifetime of needing help, but he won't ask for help any longer. Rold asks him what he's planning on doing. Stuart grabs a picture of a very muscular man from Rold's jerkboard and shows it to Rold. This doesn't clarify anything for Rold. Next scene, back at the hockey rink, Tanis meets up with the Eagles coach.
So, W's talk, baby.
I don't want that, BJ.
You sure?
I want to take you on a proper date.
Okay.
But that's not all I want.
Elaborate.
The Eagles are good enough to win the league.
My cousins will love that.
But I want to win the fucking country.
Big thinker. Is that a theme with you?
I want Riley Jonesy.
You're not native.
And Shorzy.
He could be an amphibian for all I know.
I love that line. He could be an amphibian for all I know. This news makes Tanis very happy, and the two of them head off on their date. They walk past Tyson and Joint Boy, who are approached by an attractive woman asking if the Irish are back together. Her name is Sally, played by Lily Gow. She tells them she's a kinesiology student and is looking for a team for her work placement. Tyson and Joint Boy are intrigued. Production note there, Lily Gow appears in Letterkenny 4 times, but she's credited under 2 different names, twice as Sally, and then later on twice as Ellen, which is kind of weird. It's unclear if they're supposed to be 2 different characters or the same person, but
Ellen's,
yeah. So we'll see. Scene 12. Dary and his crew enter the Fricks bar, and Nick is surprised to see him. Dary asks if Jean-Claude is there, and Nick tells him Jean-Claude is in the bush hunting for wild boar. They're interrupted by Nick's brother, Jean.
Hold on. Are you still trying to make Fricks a thing?
Yeah, well, shut up. I'm getting through it, aren't I?
Almost.
Nick asks JC if Jean-Claude is in the, or sorry, Nick tells him Jean-Claude is in the bush hunting for wild boar. They're interrupted by Nick's brother, Jean-Guy, and Jean-Pierre. Jean-Carl's at TD working. Dary explains to his crew that TD is actually TD Bank. The Fricks recognize Ginger and Boots from their reputation. Scotty just lets out a loud "you" at a Nick. And Nick asks Dary why he's there. Dary says he wants to speak with her in private. Jean-Guy tells Dary that time has passed and that Anik and Jean-Claude are happy and asks Dary to let them be happy. Dary's insistent on speaking with Anik. Jean-Guy reiterates more loudly that they should just be left alone. Dary asks him what if he doesn't. Jean-Guy dares him to try it, but now a larger group of blue plaids surrounds him. Just then, Wayne, Squirrely Dan, and McMurray enter the bar to back their buddy up. Wayne and Jean-Guy exchange tense pleasantries. Jean-Guy insists Dary was just leaving. Dary insists he wasn't. The 2 groups move in on each other and start arguing. Then one of the Fricks come at Wayne, who grabs him and throws him against an emergency exit door. The Frick crashes through the door, opening it to reveal a couple making out in the stairwell. It's Marie Fred and Jean not fucking Wayne. And we fade to black.
Damn.
Dun, dun, dun.
Cold ass shit.
That's some cold ass shit. All right. Let's talk about this episode. Victor, you get to start. You get to
times.
You get to set the tone. Yeah.
Oh man. Where the hell is Steven when you need him? Because I need a palate cleanser. I still have the bad taste from the because I don't know. Like I did not enjoy this episode, and I think the reason, and I think a big reason for that is the previous episode. I was hoping, and I got so much hate on Twitter from the community, from a couple of individuals.
Did you ever?
which is fine. It's fair. But then I thought some of it was, like you should know by now that there's gonna, the comeuppance are gonna come. They're just setting up for the final episode. So I thought, okay, great. So we're gonna get some resolution for that mess that we had in the previous episode, and I didn't get any. I did not get a resolution that I was looking for because out of and we'll get into kind of all the scenes and stuff like that. I thought that they were all just okay. I thought the whole scenes with the skids was just complete throwaway. It just didn't make any sense. Didn't add anything. It didn't even make any sense at the end. I didn't understand what the hell you meant with that picture either. But anyway. Like with the girls, I don't know. The whole thing felt weird and strange. And where was Raul while that was happening? Like that was just the whole
Use
thing.
your imagination.
Same as when Stuart was having all that gay sex. Rolled is in the other room.
I know, but somebody
separated by a sheet. That's it.
And a goldfish. But anyway, I don't know. But like I said, I feel like my whole thing about this episode was still tainted with the previous one, and it's Steven's fault.
Steven? Why? Because he wasn't here to cleanse your palate.
That's
really
accurate.
That sounds dirty when I say that. You realize that how dirty that sounds, right? Steven wasn't here to cleanse your palate. Matt, save us here. What did you think of this episode?
Easy save. It was so much fun. I think for a finale, okay, I will get into a second. There are some gaps, but all in, I thought it was fantastic. I thought the crack and egg segment, to me in the season, start off high. It kind of has some low. I love how they wrapped it up. I thought it was so true to them. It was so much fun. Like I said right from the get-go, I wanted to be in that room with them because that would have been such a fucking blast. And even the people who call them, they know them all. Like it's such a great little thing they created. They got through their winter, like you said, and they're moving on. And they've closed that up, wrapped the little present, moved on. I love it. I thought they did a fantastic job of that. There was a lot of good content, a lot of good jokes throughout the episode. I mean, Jason, you called a whole bunch right at the beginning. Like they were just pinging them off one after another. And I thought they were so brilliant. They also did what they do in a lot of the season's kickoffs and ending, and they brought almost every character you can think of into the episode. Even the Ginger and Boots were there, like them sitting. That whole
and Scotty Wallace
and Scotty Wallace. That whole scene of them sitting in the truck. I laughed so hard when they just they didn't move and they sat and just stared at Anik there. Like I loved it. The hockey sequence, it was what it was. I was a little confused by some of that. I'm still, and I hope there's answers to come, a little confused at Tanis and the recording and how excited she is by all the content that was be given. Because again, like I said, I think I'm in new territory now myself. Even as a fan, I haven't seen the episodes to come. So I'm excited to find out, but I'm hoping there's answers, but they didn't wrap that up for me. But no, I thought it was a really solid ending to a season. It gave me laughs. It gave me the characters. It gave me some closure to some of the storylines, left some open, which is not uncommon for any show you watch that has season after season. There's not a ton. I can nitpick a few things, but I'm not really going to. I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was fun.
Tanya?
I mean, the hockey was such an important. I mean, there was two, right? Obviously, the egg fall, but the hockey was such an important component of the episode. It was just a throwaway. There was nothing compelling on the ice. It was very juvenile. The mic'd up, all the mic'd up gags. It wasn't funny. It was just the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh, I loved some of it. I loved some of it.
Yeah, it was okay, fine.
Like when Shorzy telling the other goalie, that was the worst player on our team who just scored on you. Like he was, he was just. I thought it was great. I thought the hockey scene was a lot of.
It was so good to see. I'm going to give them Boomtown and Fisky and all them come back. It was great to see them make an appearance again.
It was. It just didn't make sense. Like they wanted the girls to coach. There was no rhyme or reason to it. There was just no like they knew they were going to lose. So what was the whole point of the previous episode?
Well, Tanis knew they were going to lose.
So they asked him to donk. They asked him to donk throughout the whole thing. They didn't want to tear it up. And
that, someone clarified donk for me. That was the one phrase.
It's something that they've said in the past, and it's like playing like donkey shit or whatever. Like it's short. Yeah,
they're playing not to win. They just want to go out there and mess around.
Yeah.
Tannis's whole idea of recording the people who are mic'd out is still for her nephews or something. So still doing that. That's her whole goal here.
Yeah. So we don't really know yet why she's doing what she's doing.
I do.
Why?
No, they said that.
Well, I know she about her nephews, but there's more to it. And
that's what I said. There's more to come, and I'm assuming next season.
There's more to it.
And I'm excited to find.
Do you have a theory? Like, if you have a theory,
I have many theories. One is Victor's wrong. So Victor, I don't understand why you don't, because it really did. Every single one of their skits, there was comedy gold. Like, there were so many funny things that were said in each and every one. The jerk board, the Glenn saying, like, there was so much, and it was absolutely the first one. Okay, I get you didn't like it. I see your reasons and your points as to why, but this one, it showed you the reason why they were setting it up, and Tannis was in control the whole time. By the looks of it, she knew what was going to happen. She knew where all the hockey players went. She was probably pissed off that they went to the native team.
What was the point of playing the girls? What was the point of playing against the girls?
Again, it's a comedy. They wanted to pull more of the actors into those scenes, and that was the way to do it. Marianne and Betty Ann, they're hilarious actors.
I'll say this. So the original plan wasn't to do the Irish play the women's team. That came because Coach couldn't shut up about how superior men were to women, and it was Marianne and Betty Ann who said, "Well, I think we should play it against each other." So,
I get it, and we all gave that episode a low status for sure. Like, that kind of went sideways and went the wrong direction. But this one really did steer it back into more of a reason for why the girls were there. They chirp just as good as the rest of the boys do. Tannis has something that, she wants to get with this coach, but she also needs to prove that he's doing things the wrong way. She wants to get her family on the team, and she wants to have a date with the guy by the sounds of it. I think Tannis was in control of the whole thing, and she was steering the direction of which she wanted. She was in
control of it in her Tannis way.
Her Tannis way, for sure. When Stuart took the photo of the bodybuilder, and because we had a conversation with him and that he had to work out, I was like, oh yeah, next episode it's happening. It's gonna happen.
Tyler Johnson has already told us in an interview that he was challenged by Jared.
He was challenged to get buffed. And so I'm like,
look small.
It is happening. Next episode, the man's going to come back and he's going to be buffed. And I'm like, yeehaw, let's do it. So I'm really excited about that. I loved the jerk board. I thought it was comical. I thought every single section of the episode had just great comedy stuff in it. For sure.
Okay. I'm going to say that of all of the season finales, this is the weakest.
Really?
I think so. Now, having said that, I have had the complaint before where they haven't earned their cliffhangers. I believe in this season finale, they probably earned it more than any other.
Absolutely.
Because the whole thing right from the beginning was the theme of if they cheat, now
Wayne's gonna have to
absolutely. So that part of I didn't hate this episode. I enjoyed the episode. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of it was a 25-minute episode, and there's how many storylines? Four separate storylines happening. That's a lot. That's a lot to get in one 25-minute episode. And so they managed to do it. So they managed to wrap up things, the Ag Hall, and wrap up Marie Fred. I'm pretty sure we're all kind of happy that Marie Fred is history. And Rosie's back. We'll see where that leads. So I think we're all happy about some of these things. The Skids storyline, I love that they brought back the Green G, because that was a fun storyline from last season, and they called back to it. So we'll see where that leads. I mean, we already kind of know where that leads because of our interview with Tyler Johnson, but we'll see how that turns up. Victor, I get your point. You're right that it was resolved for, I think it was resolved for Tanis, her reasons for what she did, her motivations. It wasn't resolved for the women. It wasn't resolved for Mary Ann and Betty Ann. Are they just kind of like, you know, they're casualties of this whole thing, or is there going to be more next season? I don't remember a whole lot from next season. So I know I've seen it, so I'm not in the dark. I know of overall things that are going to happen next season, but I don't remember if there is going to be that comeuppance that Victor is looking for. I'm hoping there is, because that last week left a bad taste in my mouth as well. This week redeemed it somewhat. But still, it redeemed it for Tanis's motives. It didn't redeem it yet for how the women were kind of treated in last week's episode. So,
and it took the guy that I'm keep defending every week to come and tell those not fricks, come and tell the Hicks to get off their asses and do the right thing. So like even like they weren't gonna leave Dary out to dry.
Yeah.
Like it was,
so I love that part too. McMurray called them, like, McMurray is this piece of shit, but he's the one who called them on their own shit there. There's like, wait a minute, he's your friend. You didn't go back him up. You sent him into Quebec without backup. So I thought that was great too. I think there was a lot of really positive stuff in this episode.
Well, it's positive too, and it's like, hey, stop getting drunk, because clearly when you get drunk, you're a bunch of idiots who make bad decisions.
Yeah,
isn't that the point?
Yeah. So, but and I mean, I don't think I'm making a huge statement though when I say this is the weakest of all the season finales, because all the season finales have been really, really strong. This one just wasn't as strong. Jason, what did you think?
All right, just to tag onto that a little bit, season 7 in itself was really up and down, and not some of the greatest episodes. And some spots for absolutely for sure. And
so 7, I think, is probably the worst season so far. I think we might all agree.
Yeah. I think we can go with that. But that being said, I think there was some really neat stuff in this episode, and it was absolutely funny. And just, I won't go through every page of my notes here, but let me just mention a couple things. Like, I love it when Dan has the bottle opener in his overalls, which I think is really key. The dad jokes from scene 1, classic. That's really good. I'll skip mine. The drinking 8 beers stuff, when they're talking about that, and the actual amount of beers to combine, like when you're thinking about getting drunk, like, you know, it's like the 2 beers. Okay, 2 beers is a little bit.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, that's golden stuff. Yeah. So I really like that.
And I lived that this past Saturday. I actually lived that theory. So.
Well, yeah, it's a big decision you have to make when you're out there drinking around. You know,
drinking around.
Fuck you, man.
The stomach being called a processor, fantastic. Love that. I mean, how do you not love that? What else? Katie had the most, like, the hardest eye roll I ever saw, and I think in scene 1, and they just about bopped out of her head. Really funny stuff. The hockey scenes, I really, as someone who's not, I like hockey, but I understand the chirping and the trying to get on the other team's nerve aspect more in those scenes than anything else, because the coach of the other team said no fighting. Yeah. And what do the Irish do? Well, they fight, and Shorzy fights, and that's how they beat people. And all the chirping beforehand, when Riley and Jones, you were talking about putting sticks in people's faces and messing people up. If you're in an adult league, man, that's going to get in your head, because I used to go out and play softball, and I don't want some guy trying to take me over when I'm playing catcher or anything. I don't need to get hurt. So
and let me just say that the icing on the cake was that last the stick with the snow in it, and he's dumping it down the goal.
In the uniform.
I fucking loved it. I loved
it. And they're still not fighting. They're still not fighting at that point.
I loved
so reserved.
They were waiting for the other team to throw down the first punch, right? And they were just pausing and waiting. And
well, the Eagles are the best team in their league. The coach didn't want them to get hurt.
Loved it.
So that's why he said no fighting.
Well, let's get that. And then the introduction of the other hockey boys again, and some of the lines they delivered. I mean, Schultz's and Fiskey's intensity when they're delivering those 2 lines that they have. I mean, those guys were committed to that scene, and it was amazing, and it was kind of emotional. and then fucking Boomtown with that 40-yard stare while he's giving that soliloquy about his grandfather that abuses people.
Oh man,
I mean, that was brilliant. They did great on that.
Like, did you feel the same? Like, I was laughing, but at the same time, a little bit crying inside. I'm like, this is the saddest, but just how it's delivered. It was brilliant.
Exactly right. Like, those guys came in and they nailed that part. I thought that was really, really good. The whole repeating of the coach's stuff. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's be ready. Ready. Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, we're all ready. Okay. Gail and Dary in the bar. That was a brilliant scene. That was perfect. I think those guys worked really well together. And then I always love it when there's Ginger and Boots. And then we get this guy, Scotty Wallace, right? Scotty Wallace. Right? Who the hell is Scotty Wallace?
Let's just go back real quick to Dary at the bar with Gail. Bonnie gives him another moment.
Yeah, she does.
Where
Bonnie's
she's like
Bonnie is throwing herself at Dary in this episode.
Which is weird. What's changed, right? Because
come on, Dary, figure it out, bud.
Dary couldn't do anything. Couldn't do anything in the whirlpool in the hot tub, but for some reason now.
Well, Wayne's in a relationship with this chick that, as far as everybody knows, he really, really digs. And so Bonnie's like, well, if I can't have Wayne, I'm going to go with Dary. Why not? And she seems to be really into him. So, yeah, he blows it with her completely.
And I'm sure you have it in your notes there. What did Gail say? I laughed so fucking hard when Dary walked in and asked where everyone was.
Oh, what am I, the Oracle?
I'm
the Oracle.
Oracle, right? Little Greek tragedy.
I was crying. I'm like, that was such a brilliant response. Right? He's like, a simple question.
I don't know what the fucking Oracle looks like.
Yeah.
Again, every single episode, there were comedy, like so many great lines.
Yeah, absolutely brought it. And then when we're in the ag hall and fucking Rosie comes in with that dog, and that dog is great. She hands off to Glenn. The Glenn's talking to the dog. And but what is Rosie doing there anyway, really?
No, she was there to pick up Zeke because Zeke was there from the beginning. Zeke was there.
Oh, I thought she came in with him.
No.
She came in with the sister.
Oh, that's right. Katie had her.
Yeah.
Katie had Zeke. Okay, right. And then, the other cool thing about, I think the hockey scenes were, I think we got to see some Sudbury locals up in the stands.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I thought that was really kind of neat. What else? Scotty Wallace in the truck with those guys, and then when he says you, and they all bend down, so it's just the two guys sit next to each other in the middle of the truck. That's something we used to do to people. It's like, well, why are two men sitting next to each other in the truck there? And then the stuff with Stewart, I think the stuff with Stewart is definitely going to be explained further as we go. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on there, and yes, I do think Rold was like hiding behind the wall, like he was
probably.
So
just adding more stuff to his jerk wall.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Let me see what else. So as far as filming on the ice, I thought the filming on the ice was really cool. They had a lot of cameras on the ice and moving it on the bottom there. So I thought this episode was directed fairly well, which is Glenn ultimately, I think. So I did a great job on that. I counted 20 beers on the stage at the end.
I'm pretty sure they were way past 8.
And they had 2 more in their hands. So I don't know if I drink 10 beers, even puppers, that'll probably do it for me as well.
It would make the trip.
Let me say, for Saturday night, puppers made up half of what I drank. The other half was, other assorted beers, but puppers was definitely a big part of my Saturday night.
And then McMurray in this episode, how does McMurray get to be the social conscience of the Letterkenny group?
Yeah.
Where does that
flip
come
the script on that one?
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. I loved that moment. Yeah, for sure.
That's what happens when the Hicks drink.
Yeah, that's right. That's the second time Victor hated what the Hicks turned into because of
Victor, did you notice when Dary accused Wayne of not being a good buddy, the scowl on Wayne's face was about as serious as it could be.
Oh, and there was a perfectly timed dog whimper too when he did that. Oh, so you're not a good buddy. And then there was like a little dog whimper. Yeah.
So, I mean, he took that to heart.
He felt betrayed in that moment.
Yeah.
So I think that was great. And then, I don't know, a couple of other good things. Maybe this when McMurray is given the insult, he says "Big Trouble in Little Arsheen."
I don't know that I thought about looking that one up and I didn't. So
but smoke eating, bagel munching, some bitches.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all.
That's big. What the hell does that even mean? But I love every second.
That's all prejudicial against Quebecers. Yeah. What did you all? Before we move on to ratings, what did you all think of that cliffhanger, Victor? Did you see it coming first of all, or no?
I saw it coming from like 10 episodes ago. Like
Okay.
From the very first episode, I didn't like her. I knew that she was not right. She was.
But did you think she would have cheated on him?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Matt,
Yeah.
Of course.
Matt, what did you think of that?
Wow, it was cutthroat.
The cliffhanger.
Yeah. No, it was good. I didn't see that specific outcome coming. I mean, it was obvious that they were finished. They just didn't jive. And when Rosie came back, it made me so happy. I love fucking Rosie so much. So
look really
I'm glad I mean, I'm not glad. It's never ever fun to be cheated on. It's I agreed with their concept of this episode of that's that. That happens to me, it's over. Like it's not even a question because it's hard to bounce back. And those that can, I commend you. I know many do. It wouldn't be in my books. It's a hard one to come back from.
Tan, what do you think?
Trust.
Oh,
it's hard to rebuild the trust when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
Really impossible.
I think you guys referenced quite a few times about who would be a good girlfriend for Wayne. And I think there was a poll at some point of which girlfriend do you like most? So it was referenced. And then with, oh my gosh, her name's escaped my head. When the girlfriend came back with the dog. Or the ex-girlfriend. Rosie. When Rosie came back with the dog, it's kind of like, oh, what's that about? And why is she all of a sudden back in the picture? And how is that going to play out? So it wasn't a huge shock. It was a surprise, but it wasn't a huge shock that was the way they were going to end the relationship.
Especially the way that the whole episode went, where they're so against cheating or forgiving.
Yeah. But it makes sense because of the whole episode, and it's all against cheating and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, when the door pops open, it's like, oh, well, there she is.
Yeah. They set the stage for there's no questions at this point. It's over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't a Marie Fred hater as much as everyone else. I thought they made a cute couple. But at the same time, I understood that people were like, what she doesn't seem, they didn't give her much of an opportunity to show off too much personality. So I get it. So, I mean, and I've seen this before, so I knew it was going to happen. So from what I remember the first time, I was shocked and couldn't wait to see what the fallout was going to be in the following season.
But it's still something to be said that Wayne felt that strongly towards her that he gave her a ring and asked her to marry him.
Well, she's so much like him.
He never did that though with Rosie.
Well,
it wasn't.
Yeah, it didn't last long enough, probably.
Was it that, or was it that it was just so kind of flat? There was no kind of, that passionate.
They like reading together a lot.
I know, but the other couple, they liked fucking a lot. So like. What would you rather do? Read or
you make
that should not be a Twitter poll.
No,
it doesn't need to be. Reading or fucking, I'm like, you're doing it wrong if the answer's reading.
Read about fucking.
Jason, what did you think of the cliffhanger?
So I tried to think back to the first time I saw this episode and what it was. And I like you, Al, I think I was kind of shocked by it a little bit also because hell, I fell in love with Marie Fred in that when in that bar scene with that great music when he was locking across and she just looked so awesome.
Right.
In that little white t-shirt. I mean, I felt it and they were super cute. So yeah, I did not expect it the first time when they knocked that open. I did not expect it. So to me, it was rather shocking. And I do remember it, wanting to see definitely what's going to happen next with that. But
so now that we know what that cliffhanger was, I can bring up what Awesome's theory was about why Anik started ghosting Dary for those 2 weeks. And her theory, which I think is an interesting one, was Anik knew that Marie Fred was stepping out on Wayne and she wanted no part of it. And she didn't want to be involved in it. It was bothering her. So it wasn't so much that she was ghosting Dary. She just didn't want, because they would come to Ontario to visit them on alternate weekends. She didn't want to do that anymore. And because she knew that Marie Fred was stepping out on Wayne, maybe for that for that length of time. So that's an interesting theory.
Absolutely.
Which makes sense. And Nick sort of looked like she did genuinely look pretty happy to see him when he walked in there too. Regardless of what happened, the scene to follow, there was some excitement when he walked in.
There was a joke in there where she absolutely gave him like a really nice smile when Daryl came in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Girlfriends often protect each other, I think, when there is sort of like that cheating thing going on. And perhaps I don't know. I think Daryl blew it with Anik because he was just too needy.
Well, the neediness is probably what. The neediness drove her away. But I think what led to the neediness was kind of the ghosting that led up to that, where maybe that might be the reason for it. But anyway, that was
But what does that mean? Does that mean that Anik cared so much about Wayne in that scenario that she didn't want to have, and therefore she put her relationship with Dary at? I don't know. It doesn't fly for me.
Okay, take it up with Awesome at the Egg Hall, and maybe she can elaborate.
Oh, we will.
We will.
All right, let's move on.
Coming for you, Awesome.
Let's move on to ratings. Victor, what do you give this one?
I give this one a clearance.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah. It's not. No. It's not. There was too much kind of good stuff in there for compost, but it certainly was not a fresh.
That's the first positive thing you've said.
I know.
I think maybe we convinced him. I think we brought. I bet you he came in because he had the train wreck.
I call that a
background.
win.
No. I had it from the very beginning. There was like the part with the Boomtown crew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that alone, like just even thinking as an actor to be able to deliver those lines like that, I would just like, that's so daunting. Oh my God.
Yeah.
First of all, it's very complex lines.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, having to quote legislation and whatnot, and having to do it, and then mixing that up with these personal, heartwarming stories, and having to do it with that tone and expression and stuff like that. I mean, there's three things going on there. Yeah. There's layers of complexity in just that one scene, and they did it just incredible. It was just an incredible scene. So you can't. I mean, the previous episode had zero redeeming qualities to it, whereas this one had several redeeming qualities to it. But it wasn't fresh. I mean, it wasn't, and it wasn't, and especially because season. You can't rubber stamp. No, you can't. Sorry, you don't get to. If it was such an up and down season, and mostly down. That like they needed to finish a lot stronger than this, and maybe the problem was there was too much going on. Maybe there was too many storylines going on. Maybe if they would have focused on maybe one storyline and really put a lot more emphasis on that, maybe that would have. The thing is, also it's a personal taste thing, right? Mm-hmm. I know that Matt loves fart jokes, which is great, and I for me they're just okay. And for me it's like I like drinking, but I don't like. I'm not amused by drunk people, right?
Yes.
If I'm one of the drunks, I'm totally cool with that. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not drunk and you're drunk, then I just think you're a fool. Right? So I just don't find it entertaining to be watching a bunch of drunk guys sitting around making bad decisions and hurting other people. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I just feel like they really let Dary down, even though they came around at the end because of McMurray. I just didn't like it's not in their character, right? They're supposed to be such a tightly knit thing, and it's like you have 8 beers and all of a sudden you let your friends sink to the bottom. So I didn't like that. And then
definitely right about that. Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely let Dary down. Absolutely.
They did.
Yeah. And then at the end, like I just felt it was so tropey just to end with that fight scene. It's like, oh, here we go again. We're going to end with another fight scene, and it's like, thank goodness we were saved by the skank. And
wait a minute, was there a fight scene at all in season 7? I can't.
Oh. Didn't the season start with a fight scene, or I don't even know. It started at the egg hall, but I don't know. Anyway, so it's a clearance for me. I felt that there was not enough strong material to push it to a fresh, and there was not enough kind of
what are you laughing at?
Nonsense to take it to a compost.
I knew that's what she was supposed to say.
Yankus area.
Okay, Matt, what rating do you give this?
So I wasn't bored at all this episode, which is always a good start. They gave me everything I wanted. They gave me characters. They wrapped up some storylines. They left some cliffhangers. I really would have loved to have seen more about the Tanis recording aspect. That's tripping me out, but that's okay. I have to believe that that's coming. And they flipped the script in a few cases. I mean, you get Wayne and Squirrely Dan, who are often more articulate characters who spew out amazing just lines. It just give us nonsense, and I loved it. I didn't understand half what they're saying. His little ramble about 9 out of 10 and 10. It didn't make any fucking sense at all. But it was brilliant in itself of not making sense. So I love that they flipped the script on that. They gave Dary sort of his moment, and at the end of the day, like you said, they called a couple of them. McMurray's a piece of shit, and then made him the star who brought them all back to their senses. Yes, everyone gets a little too drunk. Not everyone, but a lot of people get too drunk sometimes, and you make stupid mistakes, and you have a lapse of judgment. That's what happened.
So that's why they're friends with McMurray.
And that's where McMurray.
That's why they're friends with him, right?
Yes,
Yep.
and he brought them back and said, "Guys, you know I'm the piece of shit, but you fucked up here. When a friend asks for help, you help them." And they snap back and they redeem. But also, how fucking close is Quebec to Letterkenny?
I know, right?
Guys, let's just talk about a timeline. Let's talk about a gap here.
I thought the same thing. Yeah.
But aside from that, it's a fresh. It was such a great episode. I agree. It wasn't one of the finer season finales, but I loved it. There was just so many good things about it, from the music, the OCM when they entered the rink there. There was a lot of good content in this one. That it happened fast, but it was there.
So
and
fresh.
You fresh for sure.
Right. 10?
And if you're wondering, they used the portal behind the produce stand to get to Quebec.
Oh yes, there you go. You're right. Yeah, there's the.
I'm guessing they're like an hour away.
Well, I mean, if it's based on Listowel, they're more than 5 to 6 hours away from the Quebec border.
And if you're based on Sudbury, it's just as far.
Yeah, so it's just weird that they can pop over to Quebec whenever they want. It's pretty funny.
Hey, that's several provinces.
Yeah.
Pop over. Just pop over. I have to say, I love that Victor has given it a clearance. I count that as a win.
Yeah, I think I do too.
And I love his skank comment. Just love it. I agree with Matt completely. I love every point he's made. I except for the ending. I still do think that it was a great close. The fact that McMurray did point it out and called them out on not being a good friend, and them showing up, that makes it a great scene. The glances that are had across the preparing for the fight.
Oh, between the Hicks and the Fricks?
Yeah. It's all leading and to that drama. And then of course, if I wasn't really,
I'm getting the blue spatula for the Fricks comment.
I thought it was a great episode. I really did. It's a full out fresh.
Interesting. All right. We're running long here, so I'm going to try. I'll be quick. This one, I'm giving it a clearance.
What?
Yeah, I'm giving it a clearance.
Wow, I actually didn't see that coming.
I didn't see that coming either.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff in it, but
There's a lot of good stuff in it.
Clearance.
But
not even a high clearance?
Like, is anyone listening? If you listen to Al, you listen to Victor, they're on complete opposite ends of this spectrum with this episode.
Where are you
and
getting
yet
the
their
clearance
rating
from?
is the same.
I know, right?
We're not.
Okay, right. Matt
you
and
guys
I are
have been
going out
listening.
and having dinner together, and you guys are just like,
mine
whatever.
is a very high clearance, but it's still a clearance. It's not quite a fresh. It's not this episode. Watching it.
How is it not a fresh? Every single scene, it's funny.
I didn't laugh a single time. I didn't laugh a single time this episode.
Play back this podcast and listen to it again. Listen to all those episodes. Listen to all those like.
Well played. I just, it was just this whole season's been a clearance over. I mean, I'm foreshadowing now to next week's episode where we give our season recap, and this just kind of epitomizes the whole season. It's just been okay, and like nothing about this episode made it great. Nothing made it horrible either, but there is still kind of the stink on it from last week, and that's probably what's knocked it down to a clearance for me. So that's kind of where I agree with Victor. But I enjoyed it more than he did, but for different reasons. And maybe it's because I wasn't shocked with the cliffhanger this time. So maybe if I'd watched
even leading up to you've made the point.
I tell you, the women got lambasted in a previous episode.
And we're not talking about the previous episode.
No, that's not the point.
We're talking about this one.
But it's a continuation. This is like part 2. That was part 1. This is part 2. They got lambasted and embarrassed. They went and got these girl coaches on the bench. There was absolutely no rhyme or reason to it. There was no resolution to it. All they did was, yes, men are better than women, and let us show you. And then there won't be any payoff for it. It just didn't make any sense.
It was just a good episode, and because, in my opinion, it's the worst of all the season finales up until now, it deserves a clearance in my book. Jason?
I'm Jason, save us, man.
Well,
Jason, come on.
Listen, I like this show.
You're the tiebreaker.
You don't take 12 pages of notes on an episode you don't like.
You're the tiebreaker, dude.
I'll tell you, for me, it was a fresh, obviously, but I'll probably be accused of being a bit of a fanboy, which is true. I mean, I think they do some, I like the show. So not everyone is a fresh for me. Absolutely. The last episode was, I would give that a clearance as well. But this one had so many neat things in it. Just from the beginning with the drunk Wayne, I understand what you're saying, that drunk people can always be funny, but the drunk Wayne is pretty funny. I mean, that guy was pretty good. And then Dan also had the great lines in there with the drinking, and sometimes people just get hammered and you go with it. And the people that called in to crack an egg, I think, were really funny.
One of them sounded like Matt, actually.
So, I just think this episode had too many good parts in it and too many great scenes that were in there to say clearance. I mean, they really established a lot of things. They moved through a lot of story. They had some really great jokes. I don't know how you don't laugh throughout this episode. I don't know how you not smile at stuff. I mean, so yeah.
Lots of smiling.
A lot of smile. Yeah, it was enjoyable. I expect more from a season finale. Maybe that's probably my thing. All right, let's move on. This should be pretty quick. Top 5s. Does this make anyone's top 5? Victor?
No.
Matt?
No, it doesn't make a top 5.
10?
I'm gonna pass.
Yeah, it doesn't make my top 5 either. Jason, I don't expect you to give us your top 5 episodes, but feel free to list off some of your faves that.
All right, I'll do it real quick because I know we're running long. So what I did real quick is just look back through the past 7 seasons and just I'll just name the ones that I thought were the best for the 7 seasons. So for me, Ain't No Reason to Get Excited, which I think is season 1, episode 1. I thought that was great. Season 2, Relationships. Season 3, Sled Shack. I love some of the stuff that goes on in Sled Shack, and when they talk about bringing in the fake gays, and he's like, "Yeah, I know some fake gays." Talent show, I think, is brilliant. The dance at the end and the combining of the music at the end, and then everybody gets up on that stage and dances around. Sometimes I get up and I dance it right along with them.
Oh, wow.
Even though I cannot line dance. All right, season 5, Baka Beach, and I think I said it earlier with again. The music and the way they combined it and the slow motion and that fight in the bar was just brilliant stuff. Number 6, Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, I think, is just a brilliant episode. And my God, when they all walk into the Valentine's Day thing and it's all just them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best.
Yeah.
And I think from season 7, I mean, I really like the episode, but I also like the very first one, Crack an Egg, I thought was pretty good because they just headed in a totally different direction. And that was kind of neat. So that's
very good. Thank you very much. All right. MVPs quickly. Victor, who's your MVP for this episode?
That's McMurray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy. McMurray had the only conscience in this episode.
Debatable, but okay, fine. Matt?
I'm going to agree. It's McMurray.
All right.
I like how he rounded everything and brought them back to, there were so many good moments, but his stood out to me.
I have a feeling I know Tanya's, but say it anyway. Oh, maybe I don't know. She's thinking.
I'm going to say Dary.
Oh, okay.
Dary comes to mind.
Interesting. Yeah. You felt bad for him because
He was on
because he had to gather his posse of Ginger, Boots, and Scotty Wallace.
He was on a Dairy, like
that was his B team.
He was focused. He was like on a Dairy path, and he was like hell bent on doing.
Yeah, he wasn't even like Bonnie was flirting with him, and he didn't even.
He
flinch.
was hell bent. He was just like focused on one thing and one thing only, and he was going for it. And yeah.
I'm gonna go off the script here. I'm going with Shorzy, and normally I don't. His stuff doesn't really make me laugh, but his stuff in the hockey.
He was good on the ice.
He was so good on the ice. Every time he broke somebody's stick, when he stomped on that one stick to break it, pouring the snow down the goalie's shirt. I thought it was so good. It was so good. So
the delivery,
Shorzy.
The delivery at the end when all the hockey players come out and he's laughing. He's laughing. Fucker. I mean that is good.
So much stuff.
True.
Or when they scored the one goal, I was like, that was our worst player, and you're so dog shit. Like the whole he was
Good
so
one.
good in this one.
Yeah.
Jason, who's your MVP?
Well, I'm going to go with Stewart actually.
Oh, wow.
Stewart.
Yeah, so Stewart is kind of the man in this episode. Like those chicks come in and they like those girls take off their clothes in front of him from hearing him having sex with some other girl. I mean, that's pretty impressive to attract two beautiful girls like that. Yeah. Plus, he has this amazing life revelation in this episode. And I think that's really cool. So for me, Stewart's coming on.
In that one scene where he says to if go back and watch, he says to Roald something about what do we have scheduled or whatever. What do we have on the schedule for this week? He says it with a very deep, un-Stewart-like voice, and then when the women disrobe, he goes something about I've got movement,
there's movement,
there's movement. He goes from very deep manly voice to a very squirrely, very Roald-like voice when he says about the movement. So that was kind of funny. All right, we're going to move on to listener comments. We have one from last week. Protestant Pod just joined Twitter to say that W's Talk episode was the greatest ever. I've been listening since the beginning and made this just to say hi. Keep it up, buds. And that's from Eric, one of our newest Twitter followers. Thank you so much, Eric. Yes.
And thank you, Victor.
Victor was on fire. Dennis brought it as usual. Like, yes, last week's episode was one for the books for sure. And just a little bit of news that we got today, actually. According to Chartable, our audience skews 11.41% more female than the average podcast audience. And I attribute that all to Victor. I think he's there. He's fighting the good fight for the women, for the
it's the accent. Ladies love the accent.
For the feminists. And his indignant, especially from last week, it was just perfect. And yes, we appreciate everyone who listens. And I made a joke post today on Twitter that of course women love our podcast. It's because it's about Letterkenny. And then I posted a picture of all the males on Letterkenny shirtless, minus Squirrely Dan.
Ooh, I'll have to get
I'll show you that picture. And it got a lot. Actually, half of our Twitter followers this week came in the last 2 hours because of that post for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, it was. It struck a nerve. So, yeah,
struck a nerve.
Anyway, let's move on to final comments. We're approaching a long episode here. Victor, what are your final thoughts?
I'll keep it short. Cutler, thanks so much. You are, I think, even more prepared than awesome. I was really impressed with your notes and comments, and just you gave all of us, including myself, a lot to think about. I think I agree with most of your points. It's just still not enough for me to bump it up. But really appreciate your engagement and all of your wisdom. So looking forward to having you on again.
It'll be a pleasure.
Matt.
Yeah, I mean, Victor said it. Cutler. Such a pleasure, my friend. I'm glad you made it out, and I can't wait to have you back sometime. It's funny. I was thinking today, Letterkenny continues to edge into the normal life. I've had 3, I'll say most. So again, every single time I pass a TD Bank, I'm like, TD Bank? Like, without hesitation. To be fair, happens all the time. We had a steak spice moment, Montreal steak spice moment, even today. we were making dinner, and we throw that shit on everything, including our vegetables. So
That
we
needs to
cut
be
up
part of
some-
the conversation. Yes.
Yeah. And I could hear Jen go, "Holy fuck, we're at a Montreal steak spice. We're out of Montreal steak spice. What do we do?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like, we didn't know what to do. So we had to sort of wing something up, but it made me laugh at the show. And even like on the regular, anytime someone says something that makes me laugh, I'm like, well, if you one thing, it should be efficient.
Yeah.
I drop that literally on the regular now. I think I'm starting to annoy family, but it's okay. I love the impact this show has. I love the community.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just keep doing what we do, guys. So this is so much fun.
Awesome. Tan?
Just like Matt, I am like waiting and like looking for the opening and opportunity to tell somebody to step off my dick. Like,
to get off.
I am like so excited to use it, but I so haven't found that opportunity yet. But I'm like, I've so got it locked and loaded. I'm like waiting, and it's going to come out because I'm telling you, it's been a struggle lately. So yeah, I can't wait. Jason, absolutely pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for the show. You absolutely brought it tonight. Thank you so much. I am so looking forward to Stuart being buffed. I gotta say, I'm really excited about that.
Well, I mean, don't have unreasonably high expectations. I mean, he can only get so big.
He's got a huge Johnson. This is what we know about him, and now he's going to be buff. And
Ted, you're not going to be disappointed.
He rocks it in bed.
She might be distracted.
I am like,
yes, I believe she'll be.
Can't wait for the next season, my friends. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Jason, buddy, I knew you were going to bring it. I knew you with that voice and knew like we've been talking online since last year. I mean, we've been doing this for a year, and you've been, I don't know if you're a day oneer, but you're pretty damn close. So we appreciate all your support and seeing you. And in a couple of weeks, we have the Egg Hall again. So hopefully we'll hear your voice then too. I
hope so. Hope to be there.
So you did a great job. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Well, it's my pleasure. It was great to be here and get to participate with all that. I mean, you guys put on a great show, and I'm a big fan. And let's just keep doing it. And I absolutely hope to be on again at some point. And go Letterkenny. I'm not.
What?
You know what I want? You know what I want to do at some point? I don't not saying it has to be next season, but at some point, even if it's virtual, I want to watch an episode with Matt and Victor together. I want to do like a foursome. And yeah,
well,
right?
Could we do an ag hall format where there's an episode everybody gets to watch together?
Ooh.
So
that'd be too crazy.
I believe
You're onto something
I
here.
believe I tried to play part of an episode during our Discord after show, and Crave wouldn't play the video with a chat window open. So I think it's smart enough to know. We'll have to figure that out logistically, whether it's possible. Because that'd be a lot of fun.
If you save it as an MP4, so it's not connected to anything.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, fair enough.
I just want to hear like Matt's laughter and Victor's scoffing, and like I just want to have it like surround sound.
All right, I'm gonna play us off here with a song from tonight's episode called "Walk Tall" by Keeley. Let this one marinate for a bit. This is the song that was played during the hockey scene, which I thought was great. And that's all we have for this episode. Next week is our season 7 recap with our buddy Dean Giles. And note here, Matt, I didn't hear from you, but we're going to do it on, was it Wednesday that I said? Wednesday instead of Thursday next week to accommodate Dean's schedule. So next Wednesday, not next Thursday, we're doing our season 7 recap. Don't forget to give our sponsor Diabolical Coffee some love. They're at diabolicalcoffee.com. Right now you can use a promo code ProduceStand for 10% off any purchase from their site. Also, we're still doing the draw for the 4 unique, one-of-a-kind Diabolical Coffee Produce Stand coffee mugs. We will do that draw at the Egg Hall Social. To enter, all you have to do is write us an iTunes review. Those who have already written a review will automatically be entered. And yes, Matt, those who have won t-shirts in the past will still be eligible also to win a coffee mug. If you'd like to support,
so exciting stuff.
If you'd like to support the podcast, rate us on iTunes or become a patron. There's a Patreon link on our site or Twitter profile at ProToStandPod. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at ProToStandPod. Thanks for joining us. Now we're going to have at least 8 beers. On behalf of Jason, Matt, Victor, myself, thank you for listening and have a great week.
Goodbye.